goals?
Yeah. So let me answer the first question first. The first is really confirmatory diligence. So over the next 3 months, we're going to confirm a lot of the things that we've talked about and discussed with Vasco's management, president, and representatives over the last few months, and we've spent a lot of time with them over the last few months, really understanding the business, its positives, its negatives, and so over the next 90 days, we'll confirm all of that, and that means going to Brazil and spending a lot of time at the club and working with the team there. Once we're done with that, and we're highly confident that will happen. Once we're done with that, then we'll focus on the future of Vasco, and the most immediate future is to be promoted. So our hope is that we can be promoted this season, and then perpetuate that for a long time to come. We think Vasco is one of the greatest historical clubs in the world. We think it belongs in the top division, and our hope will be to stay there, and then try to transition Vasco back to a more of a global power in the football space.
About this competitive side, right now the fans are worried about the sale of the club, and also the politics in Vasco is amazing. You're going to find out. It's very difficult, the political part. So the main question right now is, why should Vasco be sold to 777? And if you are talking to the Vasco fan and also Vasco associate, what would you say to them for them to approve the sale?
I would say, trust us that we have the best interests of Vasco and its fans at heart, and that we have every intention of trying to build Vasco into the global football power that it once was, while preserving all of the history and tradition, both on the football field and off the field. The idea of doing things in a socially activist way that help to promote inclusion and diversity, and the breaking down of race barriers. That's really important to us here. It's important in some of the other sports businesses that we're focused on. It's been a big push of ours with our basketball league in the UK and the London Lions, the British basketball team. We're focused on these types of endeavors around the world socially, and so that common thread with Vasco is really important. And I think building out the community in Rio and around Vasco is really important to us, and so we've committed to spend money to help the academy, and to spend money to help the school and the association and other areas, in the Olympic and Paralympic endeavors, we'll have that same commitment in all of the areas that we go to around the world, and ultimately those commitments will consolidate, and these clubs around the world that are a part of our family, the 777 football family, will benefit from that consolidation, and they'll be able to leverage the resources not only on the football field but also in the community. And so our hope is that what we're creating is better than just one single club, that everybody will benefit from being under the same umbrella, and whether that's expense reduction or better player development and cultivation, or just simply the ability to serve its community better, we're all going to learn from each other, and that's really important.
Vasco has a huge debt, around 700 million reais debt, and doesn't this scare you? How do you plan to pay this debt? And I want to ask too about new ways of how do you plan to grow the income, pay the debt and grow the income?
Yeah, so 700 million is a large number,
yeah.
But the answer is, it doesn't scare us in the context of the business going forward for the next 30, 40, 50 years. We're long-term investors. We're not short-term investors. We look at this as a a 30-year project, not a 2 or 3 year project. And so we've got to think about what we've got to do to build the revenue side of the business so that it can help support the debt and ultimately get rid of it. And we've made a commitment to get rid of some of the debt upon completing our investment, and we'll work to try to deal with the remainder of it. But that's not our focus. Our focus is building the revenue side of the business, which is the second part of your question. And I think that comes with really the improvement of, number one, all of the functions of business at Vasco, and we'll learn a lot more about those over the next 3 months. But that starts with sort of basic functions like accounting and operations, and then moves into much more complex, player evaluation, player development, player selection, and then player trading, and then of course building out Vasco's brand globally. So the ability to have Vasco reach fans all over the world that aren't necessarily from Brazil, to see the brand of Brazilian football that we all know is recognized as one of the best in the world. And we think that's attractive to not just fans in Brazil, we think it's attractive to fans all over the world. And so that international exposure will help the club and the league to develop a higher revenue model. And then connecting with fans locally. I mean, connecting with fans locally should be the foundation of almost every club in the world, and the ability to connect with those fans and do so in a way that is far more progressive than what exists at most clubs around the world. And that means meeting those fans where they are. So whether it's social media or different online portals. It's important, we think, today to meet fans where they're living, and they're living, essentially on their phone. And so the ability to modernize the infrastructure around creating connections with fans, I think, is an important tool to ultimately achieve higher revenue.
Right now in Brazil, we have a few investors coming in. We can quote John Textor on Botafogo, Ronaldo on Cruzeiro, and also Red Bull, which bought a club earlier. What was the weight of these other investments in your decision? I mean, I suppose that one thing is when you are the only investor coming into a country like Brazil, where all the clubs are associations, and another thing is when you come in a country that is receiving other investors.
Yeah, I don't want to say that they impacted our decision in any meaningful way. I think we were all sort of looking at these clubs at the same time, and so I'm not sure that we made a decision because they did or vice versa. What I do think is that foreign investment is an incredible tool to help the Brazilian Football League develop and progress. The more foreign ownership that comes in, the more capital that can be provided to these teams, the better the teams can be from a governance perspective, from a football perspective, from a marketing and promotion perspective. And that allows not the teams themselves, but also the league to receive the type of global notoriety that ultimately bring more capital to it. And so it's been our view, not only in Brazil, but in leagues around the world, that when you have good owners that have good intentions, that want the best for the club, they want to develop the club and help it progress and modernize it, and do things that are in the best interests of the club and its fans, that's really good for sport and its stakeholders. And that's certainly our interest. We would welcome more international owners to come into the league. We think that the Brazilian brand of football is an exciting one. It's been historically one of the best, if not the best, football brands in the world, and we think that deserves a share of the limelight that the other major leagues in the world have. And so there can't be any downside to capital coming in and supporting these leagues in the right way.